Hello and welcome. In this video, we'll be progressing our version control journey. We'll be setting up GitHub as well as downloading Git. As I said, Git is essential for any developer. They use it everywhere. Every company uses Git. So with that being said, let's get started. First of all, you have to come here and type git download. You'll be thrown here and you have to go to git scm. Here, you can either choose macOS, Linux or Windows. For me, it's Windows, of course, and you can download the latest version here. I believe you can manage this on your own. It's a really simple installation. Now let's jump onto GitHub. You'll type github.com to the browser. It will take you to the main page of GitHub. It may not look like this depending on which time you're watching it. But you have to sign up either here or by clicking the sign up button. I'll just simply sign in and see you at the dashboard. So here we are at the dashboard. This is our home page. You can see a lot of stuff here and it may be overwhelming a bit, but don't worry, we'll get it piece by piece. So the most important thing here is that on the left you can see your repositories. As I said before, repositories are important for you because they contain your files in each Git section, in each repo basically. On the middle section, you can always create new repositories. We'll go over that in a minute. And there are just some news if you start scrolling down, nothing more. Now, one more thing I want to show you before we create a repository is your profile. If you come down here, you can also search for your repos. You can edit your profile on the left side. But what's important is that this is your contribution section. And whenever you make a commit and you push it up to GitHub, this will get greener and greener. The darker the green, it means the more commits you made on that day. Some companies will have a look at your GitHub page, and if they see that it's all green all over, then it increases the likeliness that you will get hired. Or at least at some companies, I've heard of this before. But back on track, go to our repositories, and here you can create a new repository. You will need to give it a name. This is going to be the test repo. You can always give it a description. And here you can choose whether it's going to be public or private. You can always change this after, so you don't have to stress about it. But what it will mean is that if it's public, anyone can see your code and anyone can see what you are working on with whom. If it's private, you can set collaborators and only they can commit to the code. Most of the repos you'll be working with are going to be private, unless you are doing something for social media, of course, then it's probably going to be public. And there is also a README file. This will be embedded when someone clones your repo. You can place your important stuff there. There is going to be a git ignore. Now, what is a git ignore? A git ignore helps Git ignore those files that shouldn't be committed because there is a file limit to which you can push. And if you exceed that file limit, you won't be able to make that commit up to the cloud, for example, to GitHub. But with git ignore, it will automatically recognize some files that don't need to be included in your commit, and it won't take it into account. You can always search whatever you have for here. For example, in game development, you can search for Unity or Unreal Engine. But that will depend on the type of project you're working with. And you can always choose a license. I don't really choose licenses, but if you dig into it and choose your own, that's great. Now let's create this repository. Here, as you can see, it's telling us how to create our first files in it. You can push an existing repository, create a new repository on the command line, or import code from other places. But we'll get into it in the next video. What I want to show you is a repository that's already created. Let's say we come here to the login page. Here are our files There will be more files if someone's working in a framework, for example. But you can come here to the code and download the zip file, or we'll get into cloning a little bit later. This will also get you the files that you need. You can come here and inspect those files. For example, here's the background we're using for the login page. Or you can have a look at the code. This is our index.html. And you can easily just copy it, as well as CSS. Every type of code that you can imagine can be viewed here, and it's going to be formatted nicely. So that's about it for this quick walkthrough on the GitHub page. In the next one, we'll be working in the CLI using git bash. That's why we downloaded Git after all, and we'll be pushing it to our GitHub page. With that being said, I hope to see you in the next one.